Phase Zero, Season 4, Episode 27 starts right now on BD with a chunky episode today, guiding it with Jenna Anderson.
Hey, everybody.
Aaron Perrine.
What's going on?
And Jamie Jirac.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is that an X-Men shirt?
No, it's a Goofy movie shirt.
Oh, even better.
Very nice.
You see where I got it from, just the yellow.
Sure.
I had to. I'm sorry, though. All right. We have a chonky show today because that other Marvel podcast released some stuff. And since you listened to us first, we're going to tell you the important stuff they said there. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Thunderbolts, Agatha. We have a hot topic about Agatha. If you listen to Monday's sort of progress report episode, you heard Jenna, Aaron, and myself weigh in on this, but there's a topic that I know Jamie's going to have a lot to say about. So we gotta weigh in there. Exclusive casting update from Giancarlo, and then of course some Deadpool and Wolverine stuff because they're doing a press tour. So no spoilers for that, but there is some stuff to talk about with Deadpool and Wolverine that's just still fun to talk about because it's getting closer and closer. So the official Marvel podcast released an episode today. Brad Winderbaum was the guest. Brad Winderbaum, head of TV streaming and animation at Marvel Studios. Big fan of Brad. Brad's been on this show several times. I always love Brad for a good interview. And I think what they're doing with TV over there is great. So we're big fans of Brad Winderbaum. And we think Brad Winderbaum listens to the show. I think. Because that happened, that moment with Jenna.
Yeah.
Hi, Brad. We love you. Thanks for the great work you're doing. There's a whole bunch of quotes about Marvel TV and animation, so we'll just run through them. There's What If, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Eyes of Wakanda, Agatha All Along, Daredevil Born Again, and like a little mention of Marvel Zombies. I want to preface before we even get into this, my favorite update from all of these was the Eyes of Wakanda one. I think that sounds freaking cool. But I'll start with What If Season 3. This is what he said, quote, "It feels like the completion of a trilogy. It takes us to places we'd never expect. It goes beyond the first two seasons in its exploration of the multiverse and pulls in characters that are very unexpected, and it has what I think is a very moving and fulfilling culmination for Uatu the Watcher." Very cool. Nothing crazy unexpected here. Nothing like groundbreaking news. I'm going to be honest. I love What If Season 2. A moving and fulfilling culmination for Uatu doesn't mean much to me.
That's fair. I just appreciate getting to tell a complete story. Like
Yes.
it seems like a lot of times with, the streaming era with a lot of shows, it's like you make a character your central character and then we don't really get any sort of fulfilling arc with them. I do think we have incrementally over the course of the show gotten some interesting character bits with him. Obviously that kind of took a back seat here and there, but I'm excited to see what his arc even looks like, even if it isn't this massive thing.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that I didn't know this was the end of a trilogy. We're working with a trilogy. Oh, okay. No one told me. Great. Is there going to be more? Is it like a new thing? Is there like a whole new situation after that? That's honestly great. I don't know. I feel more surprised by this, I guess, than you guys did.
I feel like they've said What If was always going to be a 3-season affair.
Yeah.
But
wow, I don't know where I was that day on Phase Zero.
Aaron, you have any thoughts on this?
I mean, I too was like, oh wow, only 3. But it makes sense because if you have to reallocate out resources to different shows, like you can't have them just running What If for like 5 seasons because there's not enough stuff to go around. So as sad as it is, we're getting our last go around with our girl Captain Carter before maybe you see her again, hopefully.
Well, I feel like at some point before Season 2 came out, I think that's when they said that they're already at work on Season 3, which is going to be the final season.
Yeah.
But I care way more about Captain Carter than the Watcher. Like I'm more invested in her story. I'm more invested in other characters that we've seen in What If than Uatu. But it's cool. I mean, this is supposed to be Uatu's story. He's just been I guess we are the Uatu, and maybe that's the message of the show. Maybe that's what this is going to culminate with. But yeah, so What If Season 3? No, what I was just waiting with bated breath to hear when he was talking about this was a release window, a release date. What If Season 3 is actually coming in December? No, none of that. So we're still waiting. But Comic-Con and D23 are right around the corner. So maybe, I 100% expect more updates. But yeah. Well, yeah.
He also spoke about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I'm still getting used to saying the full title.
Did you just like pull out a New York accent for that title for Spider-Man?
No, I was
Friendly neighborhood. Hold on. I wish we could clip the tape because she
No.
said neighborhood.
Oh no! I was just trying to read it as quickly as possible because this is a chunky quote. I'm channeling my inner Jamie here. He said, "The real power of your friendly neighborhood is the ensemble, is the neighborhood." The showrunner is Jeff Trammell, who made a show called Craig of the Creek, which is a kids' cartoon that spent seasons in the connected backyards of this neighborhood and had a whole mythology that grew out of it and characters you really grew to care for over the course of the series. He has amped that up in a major way by playing with characters not just Peter Parker, but Nico Minoru, Lonnie Lincoln, who is my personal favorite, Harry Osborn, and others that kind of flesh out the teenage ensemble. It's really incredible. That has me really excited. I know we've heard very scattered updates about this show over the years, and I know some people were like, is the show even happening? But I'm glad to hear that it is, and I'm glad to hear like the character dynamics will be a huge focus, because when they announced that ensemble at Comic-Con a couple of years ago, I was super excited.
Yeah, I think I like that, especially after X-Men 97. I like that they're saying it's a good focus on ensemble because X-Men 97 just showed us that animation can do that really, really well. So that's cool to me, and I think this does have a really good cast of characters, main characters, and then of course we're gonna have a couple, Marvel cameos. Charlie Cox is in this, so
I'm
Cool.
more excited about getting my girl in anything after the way Runaways happened. As a
Yeah.
lapsed Runaways fan from like, middle grade on, I'm like, oh boy, look at this. Like, it's gonna be crazy. So yeah, excited. I just want, like I said on Monday, I just want Jeff and them to stop having to answer questions on Twitter. So whenever it comes out, they can finally rest. Their watch will be at an end. I'm excited about it.
that's at the end of season 3.
I'm also mostly excited for Nico, but I also have to like take down my expectations because I know this cartoon isn't going to give her a girlfriend. Like, I know that. If that happens, I would be shocked. It could happen. But I would be blown away and shook if that were to happen. But I do, as soon as I learned about the Hanna-Barbera comparisons, I was all in on this show. So all this sounds really cool. The characters, I'm very interested to see how it compares to. I'm not a big Spider-Man cartoon person, but like Tony loves all of them. So I have now seen a lot because of him. So I'm interested to see how it will compare to the many, many, many other iterations of Spider-Man cartoons. Oh my God, there are so many Spider-Man cartoons.
That's true.
Yeah, there's a lot.
God, so much Spider-Man. Dear God. So to switch gears from the topic that I talk the most about on here to another one that I talk a ton about, Eyes Wakanda gets a shout out here, which I'm so excited for people to actually get to see the thing. No one's seen the thing except for if you're in like certain rooms. Brad says that Eyes of Wakanda, more than any other show we're doing in animation, ties directly into the MCU. This is a story about Wakandan history. It's produced by Ryan Coogler, directed by Todd Harris, who is one of the longtime storyboard artists who I first met when he designed the Hulk versus Thor fight in Ragnarok. That's cool. It's an awesome show. The action's insane. The storytelling is fantastic. It's both about the history of Wakanda, but it also expands into the greater MCU at different time periods. If you're a fan of the movies, I think this show is going to be a real treat.
I'm a fan of the movies.
I am a fan of the movies too. Wow. Are you
I think
guys
this is
fans of the
awesome.
movies?
This is like, unless I missed something, this is by far the biggest update we've gotten on Eyes of Wakanda so far, since seeing like that little bit of footage that the three of us saw back when the What If season 2 press conference. Like, this was like, we knew this existed. We knew it looked hyper stylized and cool, but I had no context for this show and what it was about. And maybe there was a couple things along the way, but this feels like the most concrete update. And saying this like really strongly ties to the MCU. Love that. Love it. I think it's cool. Now I know that counters what I said about some things like changing mediums, making it hard for audiences to keep up with. But I'm not expecting like this show to become so groundbreakingly integral to the MCU that like if you miss this, Black Panther 3 or Avengers 5 is going to be a problem. But I think it's going to be a really cool way for us to feel like, oh, cool, that is actually informative on the Wakanda we just saw in these movies and stuff. I dig this quote. I like it. Excited.
BD hears franchise connections and is just like frothing at the mouth. He's so happy.
They're going to show Avengers Tower in the show.
I'm excited at the prospect of just getting different eras of the MCU, because like the actual history of the MCU in terms of a timeline, there is like so much we have never seen. So like the idea of that is super exciting to me, even if it is just seeing it through like Wakanda itself. So I'm excited. I know when I had talked to Brad after X-Men 97, and he talked about Marvel animation and Marvel television, he kind of said they want it to be like reading a comic where you can read as much as you want, and if you do, it enhances your viewership, but it's not required in order to enjoy certain things. So I'm hoping that this show is similar, of like whatever franchise connections we get in this just strengthen things going on, but it doesn't become required watching at all.
Yeah, I would, if I were to guess, I'd be like, it's more like What If, in the sense of like, oh, cool, didn't know that guy was going to be here. Like, and my thing that I'm really most excited about is we saw a little bit of what the animation was going to be, and it's so beautiful, it's so unique, and the idea of like getting like random people we don't know in this style is really exciting to me, because big shocker, I too am a movie fan. So what if we're all like, oh, we hate Marvel here at Phase Zero, comicbook.com's Marvel podcast. So yeah, no, all this sounds really cool. I'm the more I hear about this show, the more very excited I am.
One of the core things about both Black Panther and the franchise in general is that small things that happened in the past end up mattering in the future and end up being like, oh no, like those old Telltale games, the old like Telltale Choose Your Adventure Walking Dead games where you choose to save one person or the other, and then it's like everybody remembers that as long as we get something with Claw in the past stealing something, and it's like, oh right, that's why we have beef. Like that's why it was on site for poor Andy Serkis in the first one. He had to go. So yeah, excited for it.
Claw would be cool.
Well, speaking of excitement, you know what other show he talked about? You guys, Agatha All Along. He said Agatha it's really fun, but it's really scary, and it gets quite dramatic. She's an amazing anti-hero, and that show it lures you in with the fun of Halloween, and before you know it, you're crying. I'll put it to you that way. It's a Marvel brand of scary. It's a Halloween show. There are deadly stakes in the series. It's a fun ride, but it's a dangerous one. This is a really funny quote. It's fun, but it's scary. Like it reminds me of that.
Okay, Madison.
Right, it reminds me of that Parks and Rec bit where it's like, you'll die of fun, which makes sense because Aubrey Plaza is in this program. Gosh, good. I'm so excited. Like this sounds like the Halloween aspect too. Like Halloween's my favorite holiday. So if we're gonna get my second favorite character in the MCU and on a spinoff of my favorite thing the MCU has ever done, and something that's like, we're Halloween, we're spooky, but we're fun. Oh my gosh, they couldn't. How can they hype this up more for me? Like they put Patty freaking LuPone in this. Like I just don't understand what they could possibly do to get Jamie Jirak more excited. What do you guys think about this quote?
I dig it. I really think this successfully made me a bit more excited for Agatha. Fun, but scary. But then when she said, the host asked him what kind of scary, he said it's a Marvel brand of scary. I was like, well, how scary is that? Because Werewolf by Night embraced horror pretty well. Doctor Strange, that was okay, kind of. It had moments. So I'm curious what they mean by Marvel brand of scary, but I dig it. It made me a touch more excited, this quote.
I feel like I've been saying, as this show has been in the works, of like, once they needed to market it, they should really lean into like the hocus pocus angle of like, this could be a thing that you perennially just watch every Halloween and just like gives you that spooky vibe. And so it seems, based off of this quote, that is going to be how they lean into it. And I hope that they market it well enough to be able to get people who aren't necessarily Marvel fans, but like Patty LuPone and Aubrey Plaza and all of these people to go watch it. But yeah, I'm excited. I am very curious what scary means, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
When I hear him say like that, like it's like the stakes are deadly, I'm like, oh, some of them witches ain't gonna make it out of there. That's not great. That's not great. I love a lot of those actresses. I'm like, oh no. So like, you better not do nothing to Patty LuPone. She better not die.
But also, she would have like the best death scene. I feel like she would only sign on if she had like an incredible death scene. So either way, we would win.
Counterpoint: death torch song out of Patty LuPone.
I feel like it would be funny if my two most anticipated projects of the year just ended up killing everybody. Like we already like one down. Like my Star
Yeah.
Wars project already is like crushed my soul, and so it's like Marvel, are you gonna do it to me too? Fine. I like to be hurt. I hurt so good. Don't kill Agatha, but Agatha does have to die in the comics. And then is like a ghost. So Ghost Catherine Hahn would be pretty funny too. Just like woo!
Spooky, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Ghost Catherine Hahn would be. Yeah, I think this show's gonna have a pretty high body count. But all right, Daredevil Born Again, which it probably is my most anticipated Marvel TV show on the that's announced. Well, Daredevil is incredible, says Brad Winderbaum. It's similar in some ways to X-Men 97 because it's reviving something that the fans love, but it is taking it in a new direction. These characters have matured. The universe is different than it was. Things have changed. Society's changed. Matt and Wilson have changed, and their characters are going to collide in ways we've never seen before. It's no longer enough to try to murder each other. There's a whole game of politics at play. End quote. Cool. Feel like this was just known. They had to talk about Daredevil when they had the man in charge of Marvel TV on the Marvel podcast, but interesting that the word politics came out and when we got a man running for mayor in there. But yeah, this didn't move my anticipation meter at all. I'm still super excited, but I'm not more excited after hearing this quote.
Yeah, honestly, the whole idea of like how much focus are we going to put on Mayor Kingpin depresses me. I don't really need that in my life right now in the year 2024. So I'm just kind of like, okay, I would like to see Red Suit Man punch people, but if we want to watch the evil guy run for office, awesome. Cool.
I think they should just have Daredevil and Kingpin have a debate.
I will say the one thing that like slightly moves the needle for me, and even then it just kind of reaffirms how I've already felt about the show, is just he says like these characters have matured. I feel like a lot of the discourse already that has surrounded the show and has surrounded the bringing certain elements of the Netflix show back has been people kind of forgetting like almost a decade has happened since Daredevil season 1. Like these characters naturally are in a completely different spot in their lives than they were when that show started all of those years ago. So like I'm hoping we feel that while still getting Foggy and Karen, while still getting Frank Castle and all of these things that people want. I hope we still feel this sense that like time has passed. These people aren't exactly the same, but they're still the characters that we like.
And I bet you that not only does like the blip and everything that happened in those 10 years change a man, but She-Hulk will change a man too. So we'll see how Matt Murdock's doing. We'll see how Matt's doing after after getting busy on the West Coast. Aaron, any thoughts on this?
Tatiana says she's keeping the options open. So
yeah,
that's
she
good.
did. Yeah.
That's listen, I would die. It's not gonna happen. I would love for her to show up in the show, but it probably ain't gonna happen. I would love nothing more. And that their writing team could do the exact same thing with Daredevil on the other side, where it's like, oh yes, that's right. This could be an absolutely serious character as well. But it's not probably going to happen because you got too much other crap going on. Like so much. Like I don't know what t-shirt Kristen Ritter's wearing today, but like, there's other stuff going on.
The dream would be the dream would be that they do announce it, or she's like, you see her in the trailer, and then we control people, and every single week on Twitter be like, is it She-Hulk week?
Is it She-Hulk week?
Let's go! That's what I would love to do.
Oh man.
I want nothing more.
All right, our last bit of Marvel TV updates came from a little kind of throwaway thing where Brad Winderbaum was asked, what are you most excited for of the slate? And this is what he said.
He said, there's a lot of surprises around the bend, and I can't choose a favorite, but I'm really excited for people to see what we've done with Marvel Zombies. This makes me think that he's like, oh, I forgot to mention Marvel Zombies. Gotta throw that one in the mix. That's all that makes me think.
That's 100% how I heard this too. And maybe not even forgot, but it's like, well, we can't say anything about Marvel Zombies yet, but we do have to remind everybody that it's coming. And this podcast, in listening to it and in podcasting now for four years, it's very much an edited podcast. It is very tightened, very edited. Like I wouldn't be shocked if some questions or answers are repeated just for the sake of getting it right. That's what, honestly, a lot of podcasts do that. Maybe this one doesn't, but a lot of podcasts do this. So they might have had like a producer sitting there going through checking things. Maybe Brad's the producer. I don't know. Where they said, okay, you mentioned this, you forget. One thing we didn't mention was Marvel Zombies. You want to find a way to throw that in there, and then they throw a question in there. We do this live, so we can't edit this, as you all have seen. Like if it happens, if it's said, it is. What's that?
Honestly, that makes me happy to know because we want this Marvel podcast to be as different from our podcast as humanly possible. And I like that about our show. I like that we're just four pals chatting about the thing we like, and that's fun.
Yeah, yeah. And if it's said here, it's immediately there forever. we don't get a second chance.
I will just say, being back on topic with Marvel Zombies, as someone who also periodically forgets that this show exists, like once a quarter, I will randomly remember of like, oh yeah, Marvel Zombies is happening. Like I'm glad that the show is still being spoken about and is like still on the horizon. Purely if for no other reason than like I want to see Kamala Khan fight zombies, which I know they teased in the concept art, and I'm very excited for.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think this show's gonna kick ass. It's gonna be a lot of fun and mature, very mature, according to what they've said in the past. All right. Before we wrap this up from the Marvel team, of all these updates, let's go around. I said my favorite update was Eyes of Wakanda. Jenna, which update was your favorite from this batch from Brad Winderbaum this morning?
I would say the friendly neighborhood stuff, because like talking about the character dynamics feels like something that he hasn't exactly said before. And it's something that, like I said, I've really been hoping we would lean into that on the show. So,
Aaron, what about you?
I would probably go with Eyes of Wakanda as well. I mean, the funny thing is the people demand more Panther. There were supposed to be 2 other shows. What happened to the 2 other shows, Brad? What happened to World of Wakanda and this Okoye thing that we've heard about for 8 million years? But yes.
Jamie.
They're ready to be shocked, everybody.
Absolutely.
Daredevil.
Yes, obviously.
Daredevil.
Yeah, the answer is Agatha.
All right. All right, y'all. Well, great opportunity to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We are live, so subscribe to the Phase Zero channel on YouTube so you don't miss a show every Wednesday. We do bonus episodes just about every Monday, and we have a massive month coming up. I'm supposed to say this at the beginning of the show, so I'll do the housekeeping now real quick. We have Deadpool and Wolverine on the horizon, where you will get bonus episodes and interviews. You will get the spoiler review that Friday, July 26th. We will have it. You will have our Hall H discussion from San Diego Comic-Con, which actually just yesterday we locked in. We're gonna have a live Phase Zero episode slightly after. There will be a little bit of time in between the Marvel Studios panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and we will be live Saturday night for our discussion about it, our recap of it. There might be something else that weekend. I did see somebody in the comment section do a Phase Zero show live in person. Like, who knows? Just keep listening to us. Who knows what could happen? And there's a lot of stuff coming up. So subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And in a minute, we're going to come back and talk about all the other Marvel updates of the week that are not necessarily Marvel TV related. So we'll see you in a moment. Phase Zero continues right now, and our first topic is actually a Marvel TV topic because we talked about this on the progress report episode on Monday, but Jamie wasn't here. So we need to get Jamie's thoughts on something that was said. There's a Forbes article. I'm just going to let Jamie just kick this whole thing off. I'm stepping aside. Actually, I might just leave the room because it might get dangerous.
Okay, here's the thing. When I first saw this headline, I gave them the benefit of the doubt because this is Forbes, right? This is like a business outlet. Like that's what their whole thing was. So when I saw this headline, I thought that this was some kind of number projection situation, and I was like, "Oh, interesting. I'm surprised." And then I read the article, and this guy is just a hater. Like this guy just wants Agatha to fail. Like he literally has a whole section where he's talking about the different titles, and then he's like, "It seems like those other names may have just been some sort of marketing stunt." What do you mean seems like? It's very obvious what they were doing with those titles. And who asked for this? I'm sorry, but who asked for this? WandaVision is like easily the most popular show that has come out of Disney Plus Marvel stuff. A lot of us asked for this, and we have talked about, yes, this show probably would not have been greenlit now. It was greenlit in a time where a lot of things were being greenlit, of course. But what Forbes? What are you doing? Like what you're supposed to be talking about, talk about the kind of money things are, like, whatever. I don't want your opinion pieces on Marvel, Forbes. That is not why you exist, Forbes. So yeah, I really did initially try to give this a benefit of the doubt, but when you see a headline, guys, you should read the article. That is a very important advice I have from all of us here at comicbook.com, writer of articles. And you know what? Here's the thing. I also do not believe this will be the least watched show. I love Ms. Marvel deeply, but a lot of people did not watch that on its first run in Disney Plus. A lot of people rediscovered it later on ABC. I would be surprised if this did lower numbers than that. And Secret Invasion didn't do great because it wasn't that great. This show is going to be great. So people are going to be like, "Hey, Mom, hey, Dad, did you know that there's this great new show on Marvel?" And they'll be like, "No, son, I didn't know. I'm going to go watch it now." Word of mouth, baby. So I don't know, Forbes, get your shit together.
We haven't had a good Jamie rant in a while. That was amazing.
When they happen, you can't plan a Jamie rant. It's just when they happen, and you just have to be grateful you were there.
I gotta say, also when we're all reacting to these things, do not quote tweet the fucking article and give it more airtime. What are we doing, guys? Everything on that platform, for real.
Oh, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when you disagree with somebody and you'd rather dunk on them but give them more exposure by quote tweeting it. Yeah. It's just like they kind of win when they get
and
your
now they
attention
actually do because they actually get money from it. Why? Like what? I don't know.
Right. I regret it. Don't read the
No.
article.
I know. No. We choose one person to quote tweet it in a tribunal, and then everybody just quote retweet under them, and just get your shots in under that. That's what we should do.
I'm gonna
that too. Right.
Yeah. I'm gonna be this one.
Okay.
I didn't quote tweet that Lost article. That was also some BS, but that's not what this podcast is.
Lost article. Hold on.
So this was an article from
okay, explain it.
This was an article from 2010 that was being recirculated now that Lost is on streaming, and it was basically here are the episodes you can skip from Lost, and here's what you are missing, and here's why they are not worth watching when you're binge watching it on Netflix. Not having even seen the show yet, I was offended. I was like, that just seems egregious.
You never do that, especially with Lost, first of all, but never skip. You want to watch a show. Commit, baby.
The article is from before Lost ended or
it's from before binge watching as a concept.
Yes,
which is just
I'm
wild to me.
Ah, man.
Let me at him. Now listen, I am do not skip episodes. Do not be Jim Biscardi. That said, those of us who have watched Lost all know maybe we didn't need Nikki and Bello. Maybe we didn't need a Nikki.
But it's an interesting, fun little thing. That's network TV.
Yes.
They are They are. I don't want to curse again. I
Oh,
already said
Margaret.
one curse word. They are like, have respect for network television and the 22 episode formula. That is what makes it beautiful. Yeah, that episode is it great? No,
Oh,
but is it a
man.
part of the experience? Yes.
Yeah, it's a good little episode that does nothing for the overall plot. Absolutely less
Why
than
does it have
zero.
Why does it have to do something for the overall plot?
Serialized television. And back then, I'll tell you why it had to. Now in binge watching, you get away with it a little bit if it's a binge watch. But back then, I used to have to wait a week for my Lost. I spent 6 days a
Oh,
week
man.
hoping Lost was on that day, and then one day a week getting 44 minutes of an episode with the commercials. Nikki and Paolo, you bless your hearts. Anyway, Agatha, going back to, I'm about to be a villain again. I
boy.
do think there is a chance Agatha could have the lowest viewership, but not because it's Agatha, because of the timing. Again, like I think Marvel TV shows are on a like we said this on Monday. I think the quality of everything Marvel, the last 4 Marvel titles have taken the average of Marvel post Endgame up. The last 4 being Echo, X-Men 97, What If Season 3, and what was the 4th one? I don't remember what the last one was. But we did the math, whatever
Loki
it was, the
season
last
2.
4. What?
Loki season 2.
Oh, Loki season 2. Yeah, those 4 certainly raised the average. If you had like a consensus of critic and audience scores, I would be willing to bet, having not done the research, those 4 raised the average in quality for Marvel post Endgame. But I do still think like even Loki season 2 probably had a tough time getting that viewership just because there was so much Marvel. And Agatha is not a household name quite like Loki is. Obviously, we all watched WandaVision, but I think it's a situation like a Miss Marvel or a Moon Knight where it's a lesser known character to mainstream audiences that might have, I mean, look, it was just not that it was 10 years, but Furiosa was 10 years later. And it's like, what was it? Oh, it took too long. That was what I was going to say. Did this take too long? In my opinion, yes. But I think that's not going to make that, like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But I think that if this turns out to be true, which I think there's a chance, and it's going to, realistically, I recognize it is possible this is the lowest watched, but not because it's Agatha necessarily, but because of the timing, because of everything that came before it, in my opinion.
When
Can I just say?
Go.
Oh, Aaron, go ahead.
Go, Jay. Oh,
okay, because when we spoke about this on Monday, people in the chat were bringing up Andor, and they were like, Andor had lower viewership than a lot of the other Star Wars shows, but like that is the one that is still the most critically beloved. That is still the one that like got nominated for multiple Emmys and stuff. So I think it is this problem where in the modern age, and especially in the age of like people being very tribalistic about box office numbers of like, oh my God, this movie cost $1 billion. That must mean it's quality. People seem to be applying that same logic to television, which is so much more difficult to do when there is no clear metric of viewership for television. Yes, there are Nielsen numbers, but like every streaming service releases their independent numbers and says this is the best watched thing in the history of whatever. And like we kind of just have to take them at their word for it. So I don't think Agatha being viewed less than the rest of the other shows is an indicator of its quality. It just, like you said, it's an indicator of just like the culture and the time that it is being released.
And it also takes time to build an audience. The Walking Dead didn't have 17 million viewers until the 5th season. You know, like this is the Marvel franchise, but it's the first Agatha show. So whatever
As a resident time traveler, I'd also like to remind you of when Miss Marvel came out. It ran up against freaking Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
A series that every single freaking Star Wars fan, if you don't think there's any overlap between these two fan bases, I don't know what to tell you. One of the most glaring, what are we doing here, Chapek moments of the tenure to me, personally. Like, if Brandon really was looking for, like, the trump card of there is too much stuff at the same time, I'd point to that moment probably as, why are we putting up the show that half of the Marvel fans have been waiting for since Captain Marvel came out, versus Ewan McGregor literally coming back to Star Wars.
And I mean, She-Hulk and Andor had the same thing. They overlapped for like multiple weeks. And I would argue that probably hurt both of the shows at the end of the day, because yes, in theory, you're like logging onto Disney Plus and maybe watching both shows. But like, I feel like some people just picked their battles and didn't watch the either show. So I don't know.
It's true. It's unfortunate.
And it's also media coverage too.
Yeah.
It's media coverage too, because like a lot of outlets will cover, like those fall into the same sort of genre of coverage. You know, like Geek Media is going to cover Obi-Wan, and Geek Media is going to cover Miss Marvel, and we all know Obi-Wan is probably going to put up better numbers, so it's going to get a bit more traffic or a bit more coverage and a bit more articles, a bit more social coverage and all that kind of stuff than Miss Marvel was going to. So it'll be interesting. Anyway, Agatha, I think I'm curious to see how it does, but I don't think it, like you said, it is not going to be a reflection of the quality of the show, no matter what the numbers are. But I do think if it's good, people will jump back on because they'll be like, oh, wait, there's a WandaVision kind of spin-off sequel thing, and then we'll see the numbers go up over time if it turns out to be very good. All right.
I hope so.
What do we got here?
So shifting gears with San Diego Comic-Con on the horizon, Fantastic Four banners are already popping up around the convention. We don't have a picture of them, but they have the Future Foundation logo. They have little headshots of the cast kind of in silhouette. So I guess the first question is, what are we expecting by way of FF at the convention? I know Feige said that they don't start filming until the week after, so it's not like we're getting footage, but what do we think we're getting, if anything?
Cast and concept art. I have no doubt they will be giving out probably the Marvel booth. Each day will give out one piece of concept art with one member of the Fantastic Four on it. You can only get it each day, and then it's on eBay for $250 each one each day at the end of the day. That's my bet.
I could see that.
I hate that.
And I bet you they show concept art. What?
Oh, it just makes me mad that people do that. Like, get stuff and like that people really want, but
Third Jamie Rant. Third Jamie Rant. Third Jamie Rant.
Save it for next time.
Fair.
Oh man. Jamie upset at scalpers. It makes my day because it is a plague. I come from sneakers and video games. I have seen the wars. It's bad. It's bad out here. It's on Geek Media and comic books and trading cards now too. It's all been cannibalized. Yeah, I guess we probably will. Some people were asking about like the hair and like the styling of like especially Sue and if that's different than the thing. I have no doubt that Ryan and them when they drew Ryan Meerding, like the in-studio like guy who makes what the MCU looks like, probably just use Vanessa Kirby real hair just because, you know, like it'll probably be a little bit more stylized the entire movie. But also, can you imagine what kind of environmental damage you'd have to do with hairspray to get her hair to stay in that swoop the whole movie? Like to make that swoop not move,
it would be worth
and all
it.
this action. Yeah,
Let's be
would
honest.
be. Wow. Jenna agrees with Google. We should just burn it all down
No,
because
I'm
we
just
can.
saying in this specific instance, it's worth the hairspray.
Thank you, Brandon, for reading the news. I appreciate you.
I do hope that if BD is right, I want to get another look at Herbie. Like, I really want to see another piece of concept art of Herbie's design because I am super excited. I also I hope at the Comic-Con panel, if they do say anything for FF, it's just confirming who certain characters are because it's like we know Natasha Lyonne is in this, we don't know who she's playing. We know John Malkovich is in this, we don't know who he's playing. Like maybe some sort of confirmation by way of that. I think that would be cool.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get a lot of that during the panel, I think.
Hell yeah. And then I had to add this in here on the FF topic. Joseph Quinn was on Happy Sad Confused, and he was asked how long he has spent rehearsing Flame On at this point in preparation. And he said an hour in total at this point. So, and I have already seen a lot of Marvel fans come out of the woodwork and be like, this is the most Johnny Storm thing that he could possibly do, of just rehearsing Flame On over and over again in a mirror for upwards of an hour. So that personally has me super excited and like confirms to me that this was good casting.
Dude was just looking in the mirror with a lighter. Flame on.
Yeah.
Flame on. I dig it.
I love Joe. I love his approach to this whole press tour because he can't say anything, but he's still finding ways to make it funny.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate. Poor guy.
Yeah.
He's just staring at a candle like Willem Dafoe. It's just mocking him.
Gotta shout out that gladiator image of him too.
Oh yeah.
Really,
yeah.
Woo! Goodness. The wigs. The wigs are strange. Speaking of like the wigs being strange, I'm sure we'll get some fun hairstyles in Thunderbolts because it wrap production. David Harbour posted a throwback photo of Red Guardian in like a wartime kind of poster looking thing. It looks cool. Confirming that they're done filming. We think we get some flashback of him in his glory days during this thing.
we might, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has like a shrine to himself. Like
Yeah.
if that's from, who's just I think like that. I think that's more likely, but I wouldn't be opposed to some kind of flashback as long as I don't really love if they're young, making them younger. Like it kind of it's worked before, but if we're going that far back, I don't know.
Didn't he have
Well-
like an action figure of himself while he was in prison? So like I totally believe that he has a shrine to himself, and that would be very delightful to see.
That makes perfect sense, actually. I'm sitting here in my theory hat going, oh, we might get the Winter Guard. They name dropped Crimson Dynamo, but a shrine to himself does make a lot of sense. I could see that happening. Like he has like a man cave of himself.
Yeah.
It's somewhere, and that's where they go to
Yeah.
like. That's gonna. Now, if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna be pretty disappointed.
Get us in there as writers, Marvel. It's time.
It's not too late. I know you just wrapped, but like, go back.
What's one more
Chapter
reshoot?
jokes for you, Marvel.
All right. Giancarlo Esposito addressed the casting rumors for Cap 4, all the X-Men rumors that were surrounding him before that, to Comic Book's Patrick Cavanaugh in an interview promoting Maxine. This is what Giancarlo Esposito had to say. The fans really started the Professor X rumor, and I loved it. I went along for the ride because I love the fans. I started thinking about Professor X because I feel like that could be a character that I could really excel at and really be great in. They also talked about Magneto. They also talked about Mr. Freeze, all of those things. I am so happy to be in the MCU. I'm happy that you don't know what I'm doing there, and I'm happy that I probably don't know what I'm doing there. But I'm happy to be there, and you're going to see it soon. I do feel like he did really run with the Professor X thing more than just the fans, but that's okay. We'll let that one slide because we love Giancarlo. I hope that I hope he's not a one-off character. And I think Giancarlo is now instantly one of the most talented people to have ever joined the MCU. So I really hope they have a character with long plans for him. That would be cool if it's tied to X-Men, but no matter what it is, I just want it to be a long-running, meaningful role in the grand scheme of the MCU, not just one movie.
I am still hoping that like whoever his role is still some sort of street level villain that we could see elsewhere, because like this Cap 4 already has so much going on with it. We don't need Gyrick or some other X-Men villain randomly thrown in. I feel like that is a lot on top of a lot. But yeah, I'm ultimately glad that he's in the role that he's playing, especially I know we've spoken about his kind of Professor X comments about the wheelchair. So I'm glad ultimately like he found a role that he seems comfortable doing, even if we have no idea what it is at this point.
And an interesting reminder in the comments from Sarah UK1, didn't he say he was also going to be in a show? He
Yeah.
did say he's going to appear in Cap 4, then there's a show with him in it. I don't know if it's a show, like his character's the title of the show, or if he is in a show. Only one I can think of that really makes a lot of sense is Vision Quest or something. I don't know if he's playing some kind of government guy.
I have seen people theorize that potentially like season 2 of Daredevil, like depending on who his character is, if he has some sort of street level connection or some sort of project that like hasn't even been announced yet.
I feel like we'll see him before then, because it seemed to me the way that I read this situation is that he got hired for a big role in a show, and then they were like, well, we need to make some changes to Cap. Let's throw him in there and let's make that how we introduce him. But I think that he got hired and was pitched into the MCU for a completely different project, and then they decided later to wedge him into Cap a little bit. That's what I think happened.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. With how much Cap has changed? Yeah, I could see that. It's a good point. Jamie's spitting today.
Like it's like what's it called? It's how Allegra de Fontaine pops up in other stuff before we get like the big thing. Exactly. That makes so much sense. I just want to know who he's playing so people cannot be. We could get the upsetness out of the way when he's not one of the X-Men villains. When he's not Mr. Sinister or whatever the heck it is. It's like they can calm down. It'll be okay.
I mean, Mr. Sinister would be cool.
John Hamm's already supposed to do. He's already supposed to do it. We've talked about the podcast. Like he can't just float that trial balloon out there and now we can put it back in the box. The poor person who would get cast now would be like, we could have had it all, man. We could have had it all.
Ooh. Twitch comment.
What?
Bernard burned Nick's. Yeah. You'll only be happy about half that comment.
Oh no.
All right, we're going to take a 1-minute break. When we come back, we're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. No spoilers, just some fun stuff from the press tour. So subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in a moment. Phase 0, Phase 3 starts now, and it's the Deadpool and Wolverine portion of the show. We just had our predictions for how much Deadpool and Wolverine would make, and there's some tracking numbers that might indicate we are optimistic.
Yeah, so these literally came out this morning, like as we were preparing for the show. So it's currently tracking for 160 to 165 million, which means we were way over at this moment. But I also would not be surprised if they are just setting their expectations reasonably so that when they overperform, they can be like, look at how much we overperformed.
Mm-hmm. We are with facts on Phase 0 today. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if this has the biggest opening weekend of the year. Although Inside Out 2 really did talk about exceeding expectations. I can't believe that movie already crossed $1 billion. And that's the question, will Deadpool and Wolverine cross $1 billion? And I think that is also going to depend on if it's good. Honestly, like I really think if this movie comes out and it's a disappointment, I think it's going to be awesome that first week and then trickle down. But if it is as good as we're all hoping, then I think it does have the potential to be the second movie of the year to reach $1 billion. But we won't know until we are sitting in that theater watching that movie.
A month ago, I would have said there's no doubt Deadpool and Wolverine is the biggest movie of the year, but Inside Out 2, like, crushed phenomenon level. It's crazy. It's crazy, but I said 185 for the opening weekend, and I'm going to stick with that. I think it overperforms unless it's just really bad, which I don't think it will be. Like, it would have to be really bad to do less than 160 at this point, in my opinion.
Wow.
Like, it would have to get Madam Web reviews.
We just can't let it go. One guy on Twitter goes, yeah, tell him. And then Brandon's out here bringing it to the show.
That's it.
I'm being funny. Thank you for listening. Keep listening, please. I think that Jenna's right that we are putting the projections low. So when it smashes through them, it would be indicative. Also, shout out to producer Pete for pointing out that they put this movie on for people, at least the first 30 minutes or something of it in Shanghai last night. And guys, if you're watching live, I know this doesn't do anything for the audio listeners. Everything you're seeing now apparently isn't all of the movie. I don't know how much else I'm going to say about that, but we're in an in-game situation, I believe. Okay. Make of that what you will.
Well, every time I open, every day, every morning I wake up, I get on Instagram, I open Twitter, new photos from Deadpool and Wolverine released, and it's like a picture from here, and then the photographer took 2 steps to the left,
that's right,
and it's the same damn picture.
That's
just
right.
like they're not showing anything new. You have 4 scenes that they have released from this movie: Wade's birthday party, the thing in the woods, the Cassandra Nova Paul Rudd set, and then the void area where they're fighting in front of the Moon Knight ice cream truck and the 20th Century Fox logo. That's like the only freaking stuff we've seen from this movie yet. And it's the same shit and it's working. Now listen, I fully expect that the movie comes out on July 26th. Guess what? On July 19th, they're probably going to show a freaking trailer with Halle Berry as Storm and James Marsden as Cyclops and Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man all of a sudden. If they do, I will throw my computer through a window.
Let's go, Jamie. Let's go.
Jamie Rant.
Listen, there's no reason to do that for this movie. The movie's making money. You don't have to do it. People are going to see it. This is not a situation where it's Marvel's and we're like, we got to show Tessa Thompson. Red alert. No, you don't have to do that with Deadpool and Wolverine. Chill out. It's a meteor.
Let them know.
Let them know.
For the audio listeners, Beanie and Aaron were just like Fortnite dancing for like hours
Exactly.
the entire time. I already ranted about this on Monday. I don't think there are a lot of cameos that they can put into this movie in terms of the ones that are like the safe ones that are worth spoiling ahead of time. I don't think there's any that they can put in the trailers that are actually going to sway people to go buy a ticket that haven't already bought a ticket. So yeah. I'm glad that they're doing what BD said of like not showing anything. It's very how the CW would take pictures of every episode of one of their new shows. It would always just be the same 3 scenes and you have no idea what's going on. So I like that we're doing that. I hope we do that. We're so close to the finish line.
I really love this comment. Burned Nix in Twitch. I hear Stone Cold's glass shatter right before Jamie goes off. We're gonna have to get that for the next time we think a Jamie rant is coming. The glass shatters. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Well, if multiverse stakes and Wolverines and cameos are not enough to sell you on Deadpool and Wolverine, its director told Entertainment Weekly, quote, "The character stakes are more important than the global stakes." And I'm joking about this in the setup, but actually I do want to reel it in real quick and say I really appreciate that, because I completely agree. I think character stakes are what get me into a movie. They're what get me into when I leave, what makes me feel like I had a great time and cared about it more than giving a shit about saving the world. So I appreciate that he said that. I hope it turns out to be extremely true with this movie.
We talked about this in our rewatch episode of like with Deadpool and Deadpool 2. I think for me, Deadpool 2 doesn't have as like great of character stakes compared to the first movie. So I think if we get back into that, I'm in. I'm excited.
Yeah, pretty simple. Pretty simple.
It's marketing. It's gonna work though. Like I've conceded. I'm like, it's gonna work. Like I'm sure. By the way, if you link this to Logan at all, people are gonna have sympathy for the emotional journey, and for Wade too. As goofy as he can be, there is like a sort of sadness that he's like, my entire world's gonna end. You have to like help me. You gotta try and help me or whatever. And that, by the way, that's all we know about the movie is like that line right there. That's it. So if that's what we're getting so far, and that's what the entire movie is built on, you can't really go wrong. But come on now, Eliath is in these freaking photos. Like the stakes is giant. Like what? Come on. There was a Secret Wars cover in the first thing we saw from this movie, like during the Super Bowl. Stakes are massive. It's just gonna feel good. That's all.
Oh, this one is gonna set up Secret Wars. I just hope the Wade and Logan of it all, those character stakes are most prominent. Like that's all I want. I also definitely, obviously, want MCU connections. To be clear, but yeah. All right, we got one more quote here before we wrap up the show.
All right, so in the giant EW cover story with the wonderful illustration from Deadpool himself on the cover of that magazine this week, if we even still call it a magazine because Jamie knows they don't produce it anymore, even though her walls are like covered in it. Kevin Feige talked about why we might not have gotten a Deadpool or an X-Men project until very recently. He said, I don't want to get into corporate acquisition, legal laws, or whatever. I don't understand them, but there's a lot of them. And it took a long time between whatever the acquisition was announced to getting it all done. So the characters weren't really in our sandbox for a very long time after that first announcement happened. So for people who have been wondering, why did it take them 86 million years to X-Men? Why did it take 86 million years to make Fantastic Four? Where's Deadpool at? As always, follow the contracts. That's probably what went down.
You know who would be really good on reporting this kind of thing? Forbes. Stick to your lane. That would be
My
great.
God in heaven. She tore him in half.
The carnage, the body,
The carnage.
No,
Don't do it. Top rope.
Don't do it.
Oh my God. Oh. Elbow drop. Oh my Lord.
From the top rope, my God, she's broken in half.
Oh,
Y'all are just gonna do wrestling jargon for
yeah,
the
we really are. If you let us, we will.
Is it? She's here. She's here. Jamie's here. My God, Jamie's here.
Oh God, she's got to go to work.
Okay.
I'm gonna run after you, Jamie. All right, you just gotta run straight to it, and I'll just follow after you with the GoPro like this.
How many Jamie rants today? 1, 2, 3. Hey!
Yes, I love Jamie. I love WandaVision. I love Agatha too. I love John Travolta the most.
Don't hurry.
I'm gonna try to keep us back on track.
Go
It's
ahead.
funny to me that Feige even had to talk about this because I gathered, I thought everyone gathered this when Madripoor was name dropped in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but nothing else was really happening beyond that. There was only so much they could do in the early days after the deal was signed, like they weren't immediately going to put an X-Men movie into development, and I don't blame them for waiting as long as they did. So
No, but I read a rumor on Twitter once that they tried to film a scene in Endgame that Wolverine was going to be in the portals. Like, what? I thought they
I
were
just got
working on-
PTSD. I just got war flashbacks.
This
being
man
reminded of
just did
Oh my
that while I
God.
was drinking. Rude. Rude.
Sorry. All right. That is our show today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Jamie, the Ranter Jirac, you are at the top of the screen. Any last words for today's show?
Oh my gosh, this is a fun one. Thank you all for letting us have fun with each other. Happy birthday, Tony! And
Hey!
yes, and I would like to say, be safe this weekend. Make good choices, or don't. I don't care. Just make good choices in the movie theater.
Back up, Terry. Aaron, any last words for today's show?
Oh man, what a gas. Some Lake Hornet on Twitter. Come over to comicbook.com where you can read all of like Brad's quotes about all the stuff that happened this morning, the weird other stuff in the Deadpool cover story. Also want to shout out Libby Scott over at Inverse for having a sit down with Leslie Headland about the Alkalite and a response to a question that launched 1,000 ships. She be reading y'all fanfic, y'all. So be careful out there. They see what you're doing.
Yo, the moment when you realize the dumb shit you say on the internet actually gets read or heard by the people who make the stuff you said dumb shit about,
Woo!
it's sobering. It is sobering. Jenna, any last words for today's show?
It's at Hey, it's Jenna Lynn on social media. As always, go read some comics. There's a new issue of Birds of Prey out this week that I really, really love. And I wrote a long form review on our site right now of Absolute Power #1, which is the big new event for DC. So go check that out because I'm very proud of that review.
All right, y'all. That's our show today. Please subscribe to our show on YouTube because we have a lot of content. We've reached out for interviews. I mean, I reached out to even get the costume designer on Deadpool and Wolverine on Phase Zero recently, who not booked yet, but like we're trying to get everyone we can to talk about this movie. By the way, same costume designer as Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, who has been on the show before, Graham Churchyard. So I assume that's one that might even be more fun after the movie comes out when everything's revealed. But anyway, all that to say, please subscribe to the Phase Zero channel on YouTube. We have fun shows like we did today. We have lots of insightful stuff coming for you. Big plans for the rest of the month that we are all going to be working really hard to do. And we have a special announcement coming that is a Phase Zero announcement, not a Marvel Studios, not a rumor, not news. We have a special announcement coming. We're not a lot sure when we're allowed to announce it yet, but stay tuned to our socials and to our channel and everything so you don't miss that. And you guys being there and being subscribers and being supporters have made the announcement that we're going to make possible in the first place. So we're grateful for that. But anyway, yeah, hit me up at Brandon Davis PD if you want to talk more. Play our show for your mom. Play it for your dog. Have a fun and safe holiday weekend if you're in the States or anywhere. Have a great weekend. And we will see you next week. Back up, Terry.